Like before you watch. Let's get started. Ning Ning, you're really not coming home for New Year's? Mom, I want to. But if I don't finish this thesis soon, my advisor will kill me. Let me see. If I can finish it before winter break ends, then I'll come home for the holiday. But that's probably impossible. Plus, I can't even get a train ticket now. Oh, look at you. How did grad school wear you out like this? I'll send you some money later. Go stock up on some food. With the pandemic, if you get caught in a lockdown, you'll be in trouble. Better to have plenty of food and supplies, so you won't be stuck. And with New Year's coming up, stores will be closing for the holiday. After hanging up, I let out a long sigh. Frustrated, I ran my hands through my hair. Then I buried my head back into the mountain of research materials. By the time the sun set, I was rubbing my tired eyes and lifted my head from the pile of research. It's only 4 o'clock, and it's already this dark, I muttered, putting down my phone. I stretched. Remembering Mom's advice made sense, so I decided to go out for a bit to stock up on New Year's supplies. Mom had just sent the money over. 8,888. What a lucky number. The new year was less than 2 weeks away. Several shops outside campus had already closed. Everyone was rushing home for the holiday. Luckily, the biggest supermarket by the gate was still open, with a sale banner still hanging. I thought to myself, to finish this thesis, it'll take at least 2 to 3 weeks. Plus, with the pandemic flaring up now and then, to be safe, stocking up on about a month's worth of food shouldn't be overkill. Frozen foods, self-heating hot pots, frozen steaks, ribs, I bought all of it. Then rice, noodles, bread, instant noodles. These staples, and sweet potatoes, radishes, cabbage, cucumbers, tomatoes, and other long-lasting vegetables filled up one shopping cart. Besides that, I couldn't forget the fruit, apples, oranges, pomelos, green dates. I got a few pounds of each. Oh, and snacks. Those are my favorite. Fried, puffed, meaty, veggie, coffee, milk tea. Originally, I only planned to stock up for about a month. But in the end, what I bought could easily last 3 or 4 months. Can't help it, the supermarket sale was just too good. Once I started, I couldn't stop. Finally, I had to borrow a cart from the owner. It took several trips to finally get everything back. But buying extra wasn't so bad. At least it would put Mom's mind at ease. I took out my phone and took a picture of the mountain of supplies in the living room and sent it to Mom. Then I diligently started packing everything into the freezer. Oh, I should stock up on bottled water too. The apartment I rent is pretty old. The water cuts out unexpectedly sometimes. I rent it here, mainly because it's close to campus. If the water goes out during the holiday, good luck finding a plumber. Better stock up on some water, just in case. Thinking that, I called and ordered 20 more jugs of water. During this time, I occasionally glanced out the window. Maybe it's just my imagination, but something about this night feels off. The next day, my whole body ached from moving stuff last night. Plus, I forgot to set an alarm. By the time I woke up, it was almost 10:30. Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I walked to the window. I pulled back the curtain, but the warm sunlight I expected didn't come. Both inside and out, it was pitch black. That's weird. It's past 10. Why isn't the sun up yet? I picked up my phone and checked it again and again. The time was correct. Sure, it's winter, days are short, nights are long, but it's past 10 and still completely dark? That's just too strange. Scratching my head, I reached for the light switch. Click. The switch flipped, but the light didn't turn on. Power's out. I sighed. This complex is so run down. The water and power cut out all the time. I habitually turned on my phone's flashlight, then switched on a desk lamp with a built-in battery. I quickly washed up. Then, I grabbed a can of mixed congee from the living room. For breakfast, while eating, I took out my phone and opened Weibo. It's this late, and the sun's still not up. That can't be normal. Could it be some kind of astronomical event? Like a solar eclipse or something? I couldn't wait to see if local Weibo was discussing it. But after scrolling for a while, the page wouldn't load. I looked again. No signal in the top left corner of my phone. You're kidding me. No power and now no network? Suddenly, I noticed an unread text message on my phone. It must have come through before the network died. Let's open it. It was a mass text from the government. Attention, residents of Zhongchang. Due to unknown reasons, daylight has failed to arrive in many regions across the country. Experts believe this is likely an abnormal astronomical phenomenon, resulting in extended nights and shortened days. Relevant organizations and researchers are currently investigating the cause of this phenomenon and when it will end. We ask all citizens to patiently await the investigation results. Additionally, due to unknown reasons, our city's power grid has collapsed. Emergency repairs are underway. Please stay indoors and avoid going outside, as it may be dangerous. I see. After reading the text, I simply put my phone aside. I sat down by the desk lamp and focused on today's reading. About half an hour later, my phone suddenly started chiming non-stop. One text alert after another. Like a whole bunch of messages arrived at once. I snatched my phone for a look. The pop-up messages immediately startled me. Urgent notice. All citizens, please be advised, under no circumstances should you remain in complete darkness for extended periods. According to multiple citizen reports, in the darkness, there appears to be an unidentified carnivorous creature. If you remain in complete darkness for more than 10 minutes, you will be attacked by this creature. Current observations indicate the creature is averse to light. Light can temporarily drive it away. You must ensure there is a light source nearby to temporarily dispel the darkness. Each time you turn on a light, it must be on for at least 1 minute. After reading the text, my face went pale. It took me a long time to process the information. After a while, I finally snapped out of it. I checked my phone's signal and saw that I finally had some. Although the bars were pitifully few and looked pretty unstable, at least it was something. I thanked the authorities in my heart and immediately called my mom. Mom, I started, but on the other end, a tearful voice came through. Ming, are you okay? It's pitch black outside. It's terrifying. I couldn't get through to you earlier. Don't you dare go wandering around. Mom, don't worry, I quickly said. I'm fine. I'm just in my dorm reading. I haven't gone anywhere. The signal just came back, so I called you right away. Mom, it's completely dark here. The sky hasn't gotten light. I also got a text from the city government saying there's something in the darkness. Are you guys okay over there? Your dad and I are at your grandpa's place in the countryside. Don't worry about us. You know your grandpa's house. They still use a wood-burning stove. There's plenty of firewood and kindling here. Lighting isn't a problem. Ming, you're out there alone. You have to be careful. Those texts are all true. There really is something in the dark. Not long ago, I saw your Uncle Lee from next door walk outside, and then he just vanished. Vanished? How? I can't really explain it. A perfectly healthy man just completely disappeared all of a sudden. Just remember, don't stay in the dark for too long. Make sure to turn on a light every now and then. Then she lowered her voice. Ming, is your power out over there? I hesitated for a second, but answered honestly. Yeah, but the government says they're working on fixing it. That's bad. Mom's tone became unusually grave. I just called your uncles and aunts, your grandparents, everyone. I found out that in every city they're in, it's inexplicably dark, and the power's out. Hearing this, I was stunned. I instinctively asked, third uncle, it's dark and the power's out there too? Yes, Mom replied heavily. Grandma and eldest uncle are in Yongchang. Second uncle lives in Haishur. Auntie works in the capital. And third uncle recently went on a business trip to Moscow, Russia. Moscow has a 5-hour time difference from us, but by now, it should be morning and light there. So many places have simultaneously plunged into darkness. If you say it's a coincidence, I absolutely don't believe it. Holding the phone, I couldn't help but shiver. It was as if I could see a giant hand covering the sky, and then with a gentle breath, it blew out all the light of human civilization. Night had silently descended upon the entire world. Then my phone screen dimmed. The signal was lost again. I tried calling back a few times, but no one ever picked up. So I gave up. But thinking about it now, I can't help but feel a bit lucky. Thank goodness I was reading earlier, with the desk lamp on the whole time. Otherwise, I might have vanished without a clue about what was happening, swallowed by the darkness. But, what exactly are the things in the dark that the text mentioned? The darkness around me is thick as ink. Only my phone screen gives off a dim glow. This kind of darkness itself is enough to stir up endless fear. I shake my head, trying to shake off all those scary, jumbled thoughts. Better eat something to fill my stomach first. I'm starving. Maybe the shop will be fixed after I eat. I force myself to stay optimistic. I pull open the freezer door. Using my phone's light, I look inside the freezer. A chill runs through my body. Originally, the freezer was mostly packed with various meats. Now, all that's left are piles of bones. What's going on? I didn't hear a single sound today. A shiver runs down my spine. Then I remember what the text said about carnivorous creatures in the dark. Since the kitchen's been dark the whole time, did the creatures in the dark eat all the meat in the freezer? You have to understand, that was dozens of pounds of meat. They ate it all, without making a sound? What kind of monster is that? My feelings are all mixed up right now. Partly regret, partly lingering fear. I force myself to calm down. I decide to cook some dumplings to fill up. Luckily, the kitchen uses a gas stove. The power outage doesn't affect it. Fumbling in the dark, I scoop the freshly cooked, steaming dumplings into a bowl. When I get to the last one, my hand pauses. Come to think of it, pork and cabbage dumplings kinda count as meat, right? I wonder if those creatures eat dumplings. An idea strikes me. I scoop up a plump dumpling and place it on the kitchen floor. Then, bowl in hand, I walk out of the kitchen. I plan to use this dumpling as bait to see if I can lure out whatever's lurking in the dark. Standing at the kitchen door, I set an alarm. According to the text, if I'm in the dark for over 10 minutes, it shouldn't attract those creatures. Just to be safe, I set the alarm for 9 minutes from now, to remind myself, when the time comes, to turn on my phone's flashlight, to scare off whatever's in the dark. Alarm set, I stood by the kitchen door and ate the dumplings in the dark. The warmth and steam eased my fear a little. I finished the bowl. Right then, my phone alarm went off. I turned it off and calmly switched on the flashlight. I stood still, 9:15, 9:20, 9:55. 10 minutes exactly. That's when I heard, from behind a door, in the kitchen behind me, a faint rustling sound, like the buzzing of a fly. The moment I heard it, I pushed the door open without hesitation. I raised my phone, and shone the light where the dumplings had been. I wanted to see what that thing really looked like. From pushing the door to shining the light, it took no more than 3 seconds. But then, when I looked at the spot, it was completely empty. The dumpling was gone. Only a small wet spot remained. I swung my phone light around the room, but besides the heavy darkness, I saw no sign of any creature. It got away. It was so fast. No. Wait, a terrible premonition hit me. It wasn't some creature. It was more like the dumpling was swallowed by the darkness itself, as if the darkness itself was alive. Dejected, I went back to the living room. I started thinking about what to do next. For now, I could only hope the night would end soon, or that the city would fix the power grid quickly. But before that, I had to make sure I survived and wasn't swallowed by the dark. I gathered every light source in the house. I put them all together. 2 desk lamps, a flashlight, a laptop, a phone at 65%, 8 candles, 2 lighters, and the gas stove. I have 2 power banks at home, both fully charged. If I use the phone sparingly, it should last a long time. Using the lighters and stove, just for light, is too wasteful. I can collect some paper and plastic bags to burn. That'll last a while. The meat in the house was eaten by the thing in the dark, but with the power out, the freezer wouldn't last long anyway, so it's not a huge loss. Luckily, I stocked up a lot. There's plenty of other food to eat. Doing the math, staying at home, I could hold out for a month without any problem. That gave me a little peace of mind. No matter how strange this astronomical phenomenon is, it should be over in a month, right? As long as I'm careful not to stay in the dark for too long, I'll definitely make it through. I opened my phone and set an alarm to go off every 9 minutes. This alarm is to remind me to turn on the lights in time. From now on, the most important thing my phone does for me is be an alarm clock. I need to use it as sparingly as possible. Timely lighting and ample supplies. I will definitely survive this long night. The first day of the darkness. I was thinking so optimistically, but reality took less than 3 days to shatter all my illusions. I frantically grabbed my own hair, eyes bloodshot. I looked like a complete ghost, pacing back and forth in the room. 3 days. It's been 3 whole days. The darkness hasn't lifted. The power hasn't been restored. My phone has no signal. Most importantly, I haven't slept for 3 whole days. To conserve lighting materials, I didn't dare keep a light on all the time. I was stingy, keeping to a pattern of 9 minutes of darkness and 1 minute of light. I persisted. The biggest drawback of this pattern is I can't get a full night's sleep. Every time I close my eyes and start to drift off, the alarm goes off soon after. I have to force myself up, turn on a light, and keep it on for a full minute. By the time that minute is over, I'm wide awake again. I have to start trying to fall asleep all over again. But just as I'm about to fall asleep again, the alarm rings once more, over and over, endlessly. Because of the constant lack of sleep, it feels like there's an ice pick in my brain at all times, pounding away, a throbbing pain in my skull. I can't help but feel agitated, completely unable to calm down. Add to that the oppression and fear from being in constant darkness, and I'm filled with an indescribable sadness and despair. Several times, when the alarm went off, I thought about just not getting up. Let the darkness consume me. If this goes on, I'll probably die from a mental breakdown first. I can't go on like this. I need sleep. I need a good night's sleep. I muttered to myself, lips pale and trembling. I took a few deep breaths, trying to suppress the chaotic negative emotions inside. I placed all my remaining light sources by the head of the bed. The consumption of lighting materials these past few days was much greater than I'd imagined. It's only been 3 days, and I've already gone through 2 lamps, a laptop, and 3 candles. But right now, it's not the time to be frugal with these things. If I don't get a good, solid night's sleep soon, a high-quality sleep, I'm gonna lose it. For that, I need a long-lasting light source. I look at my phone. The battery's already charged to 99%. At the same time, the little light on the power bank blinks, and my phone screen goes dark. The power drain is manageable. If I just use the flashlight function, it should last about 8 hours. To be safe, I'll sleep for 7 hours. For those 7 hours, I'll keep the phone's flashlight on, providing constant light. I prop the phone up by the bed, making sure it fully illuminates me. Then I lie down. I close my eyes, feeling at ease. Almost the moment my eyes shut, drowsiness completely envelopes me. I immediately fall into a deep sleep. This long-awaited rest allows my tense mind and exhausted body to finally relax. 7 hours later, the phone alarm goes off. I feel unusually refreshed and full of energy. Getting a good night's sleep was definitely the right call. Chronic sleep deprivation would have broken me down sooner. But the consequence of such a luxurious sleep is that my phone's 99% charge has now dropped to 13%. My remaining light sources are nowhere near enough to support more full nights of sleep. With my eyes open, I lie in bed thinking for a long time. Then it suddenly hits me. I need a companion. The more I think about it, the more I realize how incredibly foolish I've been these past 3 days. If I had a partner, we could take shifts. While one person sleeps, the other handles the lighting. If we wake up and move together, we could even conserve some lighting materials. Sigh. It's mainly because earlier, I didn't expect this darkness to last so long. After reflecting on my mistakes, I pull myself together and start packing for a trip outside. In this kind of darkness, I don't dare venture too far. My plan is to find a reliable neighbor right here in this apartment complex. Then we can work together. If all goes well, it shouldn't take too much time to get back home. But just in case, I'm prepared for the possibility of being delayed outside. I pack the remaining light sources, some portable food, 2 bottles of water, some medicine, daily necessities, and so on into my backpack. I also dig out a fruit knife from the kitchen and hide it under my thick coat. Then, cautiously, I push open the front door. I hadn't dared to try going out these past few days because I didn't know if the darkness outside was hiding more dangers, but staying at home forever was just waiting for death. Visibility outside the door was practically zero. The flashlight's beam couldn't dispel the darkness ahead at all. It could only faintly illuminate less than half a meter around me. Which neighbor should I approach? This old building has 8 floors in total. Each floor has 4 small apartments. My rented apartment is at the very end of the 6th floor. The other apartments should all be occupied. However, I didn't have much interaction with the neighbors before, and I don't know what kind of people they are. In a situation like this, with the darkness descended, I wouldn't dare to gamble on how high their moral standards are. What if they refused my request to cooperate? Instead, they might take the supplies I have on me and rob me of everything. What then? Or even worse, do something terrible to me? Thinking of this, I couldn't help but shudder. Darkness is precisely what most easily brings out the darkest side in people. So it's best to find someone living alone, a homebody. Even if I can't win a fight, I can at least run away. I remember, the apartment closest to the stairwell often had packages and takeout left at the door. There was only ever one pair of chopsticks, probably a young person living alone, just like me. I can give it a try. Holding the flashlight in my left hand, my right hand slipped into my coat pocket, gripping the fruit knife tightly, just in case. Trying not to make a sound, I slowly walked towards the target location. It was so quiet that I could clearly hear my own breathing and the sound of my heartbeat. A major city with millions of people is always bustling. But right now, it felt like its pulse had been cut. A deathly silence. Within that quietness was an eerie sense of foreboding, making one wonder if all living things in the world had been swallowed by this darkness. Even though nothing had happened, I felt incredibly stifled. A thin layer of sweat broke out on my forehead. Finally, I reached the apartment near the stairwell. I brought the flashlight close to the door, confirming the number 801 on the plate. I reached out and gently knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. No response. Knock, knock, knock. Just as I was about to knock again, suddenly, the door opened a crack. Before I could react, a hand suddenly reached out from behind the door and yanked me inside. Bang! The door closed again. Outside, the deathly silence remained, as if nothing had ever happened. Who are you? What do you want? Standing in front of me was a tall man. In the dark, I couldn't see his face clearly, but from his voice, he sounded fairly young. My right hand remained defensive, still gripping the fruit knife hidden in my pocket. I spoke cautiously. I live on the same floor as you, in apartment 804. I mean no harm. I just think, this darkness, who knows how long it will last. Instead of toughing it out alone, it's better to find a companion. Seeing no response, I continued tentatively. It looks like you live alone too, right? Then these past few days, you must have run into the same situation as me, wanting to get a full night's sleep, but having to get up to light candles and such. If there were 2 of us, things would be much easier. Of course, if you're not interested in cooperating, I'll leave right now. Silence hung in the darkness for several seconds. Finally, the other person sighed softly. Actually, I've been wanting to find a companion too. Pleasure working with you. He extended his hand. I'm Jiangxingji. Thank you. Pleasure working with you. I extended my left hand and gave his a light shake. Next, we briefly exchanged information. Jiangxingji, like me, is also a graduate student at this university. Delayed by various things, he couldn't buy a train ticket home, so he stayed here for the new year. Looking at the stockpile in his kitchen, which was comparable to mine, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Good. No need to worry about him stealing my food. As for lighting supplies, he still had 1 phone left, 1 laptop, 2 flashlights, a small birthday cake, with some very thin candles, and 2 lighters. Out of courtesy, during our conversation, Jiangxingji lit a small candle. The dim candlelight could only illuminate a small patch of floor in front of us. However, it brought us immense comfort. I secretly sized up Jiangxingji. Still quite handsome. So tell me, what have you discovered these past few days? I thought for a moment, then carefully began to speak. I suspect this darkness is alive. I quickly recounted my dumpling experiment to him, finally adding, of course, I might be overthinking it. Maybe, that creature was just really fast, and made a sound. No, your guess is correct. Jiang Xingji shook his head. On the second day the darkness fell, I experimented with a live chicken. The process was similar to your dumpling experiment. The chicken was locked in the kitchen. I stood outside the door and counted the seconds. That chicken was noisy, squawking non-stop. But at 10 minutes and 1 second, suddenly, inside the kitchen, all sound vanished. I pushed the door open. Not even a single feather remained. A creature that can swallow a whole chicken alive in under a second couldn't possibly be that small. A creature that large would have made some noise, escaping from a kitchen with all doors and windows shut. So it's highly likely that what ate the chicken wasn't some large creature, it was the darkness itself. Jiang Xingji said this with a completely straight face. I couldn't help but interrupt. You keep chickens at home too? An awkward silence hung in the air for a second. Then he continued as if nothing happened. It was my buddy's pet chicken. He couldn't take it with him for winter break, so he left it with me for a while. So, your buddy's chicken became your lab rat, right? Anyway, did you notice anything else? Jiang Xingji forcefully steered the conversation back on track. No, I answered honestly. I've been staying home these past few days, waiting for the power to come back, just eating, drinking, and spacing out. Jiang Xingji chuckled softly. When you walked over just now, didn't you think it was too quiet outside? As soon as he said that, it clicked for me. This darkness has another weird property. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. He said he wasn't sure, but his tone was quite certain. This darkness has the ability to block light and muffle sound. On the first day of the darkness, I tied a flashlight to the chicken, attached it to a rope, and lowered it from the balcony. After just about 3 feet, I couldn't see the light on the chicken anymore. I couldn't hear it clucking either. No wonder. I just thought it was eerily quiet outside. Also, I discovered that if you get injured in the darkness, the wound won't heal. In fact, it rapidly gets worse. I made a small cut on the chicken, then tied it up with the rope and flashlight, and lowered it down. When I pulled it back up an hour later, not only had the wound not healed, it had grown much larger. Wait a minute, I couldn't help but interrupt. How many experiments did you do on that poor chicken? Jiang Xingji fell silent for a moment. He seemed a bit guilty. 5, 6, 7 or 8 times. Besides that, I found that injured creatures, exposed to the darkness, seemed to lose their minds easily. After I pulled that chicken back, it became extremely aggressive. It kept chasing and pecking at me. No, that's just because you really pissed it off, I thought to myself. I kept that thought to myself. Anyway, after a harmonious discussion, we summarized a few rules. First, the darkness acts like a living thing. If you're in complete darkness for 10 minutes, you will be instantly consumed. Second, the darkness blocks sound and light. This means, if Jiang Xingji and I plan to go out later, we have to stick close together. We can't get too far apart, otherwise, we could easily get separated without realizing it. Third, injuries sustained in the darkness won't heal naturally. In fact, they'll rapidly worsen. Creatures injured in the dark easily lose control of their emotions and become even more violent. For some reason, the last 2 points make me vaguely uneasy. The dim candlelight flickers on my face. After a long silence, Jiang Xingji speaks up. I know what you're worried about. It's only the 3rd day of the darkness. Most people are still in a wait-and-see mode, hoping the abnormal state will pass quickly, or that the power will be restored soon. But if the darkness continues, and daylight doesn't return, who knows what will happen? It's hard to say. Have you seen any apocalyptic movies? If the darkness persists, I'm afraid the real apocalypse is coming. My face turns pale as I nod gravely. Forget the long term. Without sunlight, crops will eventually die out, and humanity could face extinction. Just looking at the immediate future, if the darkness can't be suppressed, those without supplies, and starving, will likely take desperate risks for a bite to eat. I've seen many zombie movies. Many people in them often die either from zombie attacks, or from being plundered by their own kind. People's minds are already in a state of extreme suppression, in the dark. On top of that, this darkness also has the characteristics of making injuries incurable and turning people violent after being hurt. It's hard not to suspect that this darkness is intentionally guiding people to kill each other. We can't just sit and wait. We have to prepare in advance, Jiang Xingji says with a grave expression. I also nod heavily. First, supplies. Our combined stockpiles should last us 1 or 2 months. We can set that aside for now. Second, lighting. That's the most critical issue right now. Without a light source, we wouldn't survive a second in the dark. Currently, we both have too few lighting supplies. We need to find a way to gather more. Finally, we have to consider safety. This apartment isn't secure enough. We need to find another place. We also need to collect some weapons. I cautiously offer some of my own thoughts. Jiang Xingji taps his fingers lightly on the table, seemingly deep in thought. After a moment, he says, as for a place to stay, we could move to the top floor. The top floor, where the landlord and his family live. Now that you mention it, that place is indeed a good option. First, the entire top floor is open plan, so it's spacious enough to store a lot of supplies. Second, everyone in this building knows the landlord's family left early, so they probably won't suspect anyone's inside for now. Most importantly, the landlord specially renovated the top floor, reinforcing the doors and windows, so it clearly has high security. But there's a crucial problem. How do we get in? We don't have the keys. Thinking of this, I can't help but feel a bit discouraged. Jiang Xingji grinned smugly and pulled out a huge set of keys from behind him. The landlord is a distant cousin of mine. Before they went back home for the new year, they specifically left me the spare keys to the entire apartment building for safekeeping. When you think you've hit a dead end, a new path opens up. Jiang Xingji jingled the keys and continued, supplies and lighting aren't a problem either. In this building, most people went home for the holidays. Before they left, they probably left a lot of stuff behind. We can totally go door to door and check if anyone's home. If no one's there, we can just go right in. I couldn't help myself and interrupted. Isn't that just stealing? Jiang Xingji paused. Can you really call it stealing if it's for survival? This is a matter of life and death. We can't sweat the small stuff. Once this darkness is over, I'll find a way to compensate them. Honestly, I think, given this guy's moral compass, he's probably just paying lip service. Of course, we're in the same boat now, so it is what it is. I nodded. After finalizing our plan, Jiang Xingji and I didn't dare delay. We got to work immediately. First, we had to move his and the mountain of food from my place up to the top floor. Even though the darkness muffles sound, we still tried to move as quietly as possible, making no noise. To be safe, we went with me in front, with a flashlight and a knife to clear the way, and him in the back as the pack mule. With that setup, we quickly moved everything, and moved on to step 2, knocking on every door, to see if anyone was still home. If someone answered, we'd bail immediately. If not, we'd use the keys to slip inside quietly, and take whatever supplies we could use. After all that work, it took us 2 whole days, to finally gather supplies from the entire building. There are 25 units in this building. Of those, most went back to their hometowns for the holidays. The ones who stayed, besides Jiang Xingji and me, were only 3 other units. Most were students from our university. College students tend to stockpile snacks and drinks. So along the way, we collected tons of snacks and drinks, more than we could count. We didn't find much actual rice, flour, or cooking oil, but what we did find added up to a decent amount. Unfortunately, all the frozen meat was gone, consumed by the darkness. Not even a scrap left. Combined with what we already had, this food should last us at least 3 or 4 months. For lighting, we mostly found desk lamps and flashlights. We found over a dozen candles, and plenty of lighters. Also, we made a point of collecting a lot of alarm clocks. Even though we've been using our phones sparingly, the battery won't last much longer. We might need those alarm clocks later to remind us to keep the lights on. Finally done moving the mountain of supplies, Jiang Xingji and I collapsed on the couch, completely drained. Barring any surprises, this stuff should keep us alive for about 3 months. I said lazily. Yeah. Barring any surprises, we silently agreed not to mention what happens after 3 months, or what we should do. Ultimately, 3 months without sunlight is enough to kill off the vast majority of life on Earth. By then, what we'll have to consider won't just be our own problems. It'll be about the fate of all humanity. Do you think all those little animals outside are already dead? They don't know how to make fire for light, and they can't use tools like humans. I thought of the stray dogs that often gathered in the open space of our neighborhood to sunbathe, and the stray cats that would occasionally dart out of the bushes. Suddenly, I felt a heaviness in my heart. Maybe. Who knows? Jiang Xingji's voice sounded lower than usual too. A week passed. The darkness never lifted. Jiang Xingji and I had already mentally prepared ourselves for a very long time to come. We might not see daylight again. Maybe even forever. Even so, driven by biological instinct, we still greedily clung to the hope for a miracle. At least before the real end comes, even if it's just 1 more day, we want to live that day to the fullest. First, we spent an entire day sorting the supplies we'd gathered into different categories. After that, every day, we made it a routine to go out and explore for an hour. Mainly, to check on the situation outside. We'd also bring back some branches and things like that. In a while, we might have to try starting a fire with wood. Jiang Xingji said he'd even started learning how to make fire by rubbing sticks, but he hadn't succeeded yet. Most of the time, we just holed up inside. Without electricity or the internet, most of our usual entertainment was impossible. Most of the time, the 2 of us would just sit in the living room, light a small candle, slouch on different parts of the sofa, and chat. Don't you think this atmosphere is perfect for ghost stories? I let my hair down, suddenly thrust the candle close to my face, made a terrifying expression, and hissed, "Give me back my life." I earned myself an eye roll from Jiang Xingji. Spurred on by me, we started talking about all the horror movies we'd seen and creepy urban legends. The end result was that for the rest of the day, we were both too scared to sleep. After that, we silently agreed to end all ghost story discussions. Our conversations turned to everyday things. Okay, listen, my advisor is literally the worst advisor in the world. Bullshit, he said. My advisor is worse. We ended up arguing and wrestling. I was miserably defeated by his tickle attack and had to admit defeat, saying his advisor was indeed worse. But you're worse than your advisor. I grumbled silently in my head. Xianing, if the darkness passes and everything goes back to normal, do you have any plans? Jiang Xingji asked. First, go home, spend some time with my parents, then come back and finish my thesis. I answered honestly. With no cell signal, I don't know how my parents are doing. I know there are more people where they are, and more supplies. Logically, they should be safer than we are here, but I can't help worrying. Maybe because my answer was too plain and simple. Jiang Xingji fell silent for a few seconds. Then he spoke up, sounding a bit sullen. I'd probably head home first too. After that, wanna go out and have some fun? I've never seen you out in the sunlight before. Don't make me sound like some ghost. I grabbed the flashlight again and shone it on my own grimacing face. That's because you're such a homebody. We lived so close before, yet we never ran into each other once. You're not much better yourself. Jiang Xingji muttered defiantly. But then again, I cupped my face and mused. After not getting any sun for so long, my skin should be a lot paler, right? Maybe I'll finally be able to glow white under the bright sun too. Alright, it's settled then. Once the sun comes out, let's go outside together and have a blast for a few days. To the amusement park, the aquarium, the movies, the cafe. To all the wonderfully ordinary, lively places, to greet the sun. When the darkness entered its third week, Jiang Xingji and I finally encountered other people on the streets outside. Some people might have ventured out earlier, but due to the isolating nature of the dark and our own deliberate avoidance, we never directly crossed paths. This time, we had only walked a short distance from the complex when a burly figure, gripping a baseball bat, a middle-aged man, appeared in our line of sight. By the flashlight's beam, I could vaguely see that the baseball bat was stained with specks of blood. Silence. Neither side spoke. In my left hand, I held the flashlight. In my right, I gripped an unsheathed kitchen knife. To prevent accidental drops, both were first tied to my palms with rope. Beside me, Jiang Xingji held a crowbar, watching the middle-aged man warily. After a tense, silent standoff, the middle-aged man finally took a few steps back. We also tacitly retreated, circling around each other. Neither Jiang Xingji nor I spoke, but we both realized that the situation we'd feared most all along had finally come to pass. Most people's food had run out, and they'd started venturing out to search. In a state of extreme hunger, they're capable of anything. It's not safe outside anymore, Jiang Xingji said gravely. I nodded. Luckily, during this time, we've managed to gather quite a bit of supplies. For the foreseeable future, it's best we don't go out again. Who knows what could happen otherwise. Back at home, we quickly locked all the doors and windows. Then we pushed the sofa and cabinets against the door. Behind the main door, we also scattered thumbtacks and beans as simple traps. Additionally, we moved all the weapons we'd collected earlier into the bedroom. We each picked a weapon that suited us, keeping it on us at all times. The bustling city seemed to have turned into a forest shrouded in darkness. We were in the middle of the jungle, unsure if we'd be playing the role of hunter or the hunted. In the deepest darkness, no one dared to close their eyes. For the first few days, no one came to our place. After all, people in the nearby buildings all knew the landlord's family had returned to their hometown early. But a few more days later, outsiders started drifting into the neighborhood. Bang, 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 bang. Blows rained down on the door like a storm. Jiang Xingji and I exchanged a glance. We both tightened our grip on our weapons. This was already the third group to come knocking these past few days. The door was already on its last legs. It was only a matter of time before it gave way. Bang. The moment the door was forced open, Jiang Xingji and I raised our arms and hurled the basins of cold water in our hands right at them. In the initial period after the darkness fell, people could still rely on desk lamps and phones for the last of their battery power. But after over a month had passed, that power was long gone. Most people could only depend on primitive torches for light. 2 basins of water thrown their way doused their torches instantly. Chaos erupted on the other side. During this time, Jiang Xingji and I had already filled the room with various obstacles. We had memorized their locations firmly in our minds. We could move freely in the dark, but those intruders weren't so comfortable. First, their torches were extinguished, throwing them into disarray. Then, they were suddenly hit with a few heavy blows. Just as they tried to fight back, they tripped over something at their feet and fell flat on the ground. Before they could even get up, they were hit again. Screams echoed. The living room was like a maze, trapping them firmly within. In just a few minutes, a large number of these intruders were down. As it approached the 10-minute mark, since their torches went out, they finally started begging for mercy and left the place. Using this tactic, we managed to repel wave after wave of intruders. However, no matter how hard we tried, the intruders kept coming. Even if they retreated today, they'd be back tomorrow. The reason is simple. No one wants to die. To survive, to live just one more second, everyone fights with everything they have. I fear and despise these invaders, but I can't bring myself to hate them. If they could, they'd want to live like people too, not become beasts in the dark night. We need to find a way to evacuate this place, I calmly suggested. The living room setup has been heavily damaged, and there are already many invaders eyeing our location. This place won't hold much longer. Fortunately, 2 weeks ago, we had already anticipated this. Jiang Xingji has a driver's license and a used car. That car is now parked in the underground garage. We carefully moved our remaining supplies, in batches, down to the car in the garage. Then we drove off, quietly leaving the neighborhood. Smooth sailing. Smooth and steady, blinded by greed, hearts beating as one. On the road, Jiang Xingji and I boredly played a word chain game. In truth, neither of us was really focused on the game. We just needed something to do, to force our scattered minds to focus a little. It's been 2 full months since the dark fell. Lately, we've been spending our time in the car. Luckily, Jiang Xingji knows the locations of several gas stations in this city by heart, so we could refuel in time. Otherwise, our journey would have ended long ago. During this time, more and more people are wandering the roads. Because the darkness blocks our vision, we can't see specific figures. But from the abnormal jolts, when the tires ran over something, we could feel another person, probably an adult. About this, our feelings have shifted from fear and despair to numbness. After all, no one knows if the person being run over might be themselves. The night seems endless. Light is destined not to return. Jiang Xingji and I silently gazed out the window at the unchanging scenery, despairingly continuing this journey with no end in sight. Where are we going? We don't know. Ahead is darkness. Behind is darkness. The road is lined with abandoned vehicles, like dead beasts, exuding the scent of a lost civilization. We silently speed down the road in the dark night, wanting to leave everything behind. But we know, we too will eventually become part of this lost civilization, finally swallowed completely by the dark. The end.